Despite some very nasty weather, the Royal Star had excellent fishing in their night bite last night, as did several others. Looking good, but the weather's up. You are looking at one of 8 yellowfin tuna taken today on board the San Diego full-day boat out of C4 Sport Fishing. Also had 5 bluefin tuna. It is very unusual in this cooler water temperature to be catching yellowfin tuna. It's clear that something larger is at play here. Perhaps the El Nino 2023-24. And also some good signal at the Coronado Islands. Check out that big yellow that bit the iron at the islands. The Grande had 5 yellowtail today and 48 barracuda. Things are coming together.
Good morning, guys. Captain Greg with the Aztec. Tackle recommendation for the day: 25 and 30 pound fluorocarbon. Number 2 move twos. 25 and 30 pound bluefin. Got 1, 2. Got 3 or 4 hanging, a few on deck. Get you next time, guys.
Hey, good morning, my friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California, where it is a different day. It's sunny, it's warm, there's no wind, it's gorgeous down here. You get a chance to get your family down to the beach. I highly recommend you do it because it is flat, beautiful. Hey, we have got so much to cover with you. There was some incredible nighttime fishing on the bluefin tuna last night. For the boys who were on it, it was a night to remember, even though it was snotty, sporty weather for sure. We've got a signal of yellowfin tuna down there in San Diego. More YFT were caught, and also some yellows and barracuda at the Coronado Islands. That's starting to look better and better and better. And also, we had some great fishing at San Clemente Island. All of this in some windy conditions. Can you imagine how good this bite will be, when the wind goes away? It's going to be an incredible summer and a great fall. I can already see that coming. All right, you know what time it is, everybody. It is time for the Friedman Adventures morning briefing. Good morning to you all. Thanks for having a cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is you like to imbibe in the morning. It's great to be with you all. And man, I'll tell you, we've got a lot to cover with you. First of all, let me thank Daiwa for being our sponsor. Also, I want to thank El Patron Sport Fishing at 22nd Street Landing. 22nd Street Landing, we've got to thank them. Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing, the Endeavor, and all the great boats up there. Horizon Sport Fishing down at H&M Landing, and the Pegasus out of Fisherman's Landing in San Diego. It is great to be with you all. I hope you enjoyed that lead in. Man, you could see how nasty it was on the Royal Star last night. Really, really nasty weather, but the boys were all over it, and they were catching big time last night. And Captain Greg with some sage advice for you all. Dropping down to that 25-pound fluorocarbon makes all the difference in the world. I'm so glad he shared that with you. Make sure you're bringing that along with you and choosing a really good hot bait. All right, let's get into it with you. I'll take you south of the border first of all, and down there in the Ensenada region, fishing for bluefin is inconsistent, but mostly because of the weather. It's settling down, it's biting. The pongeros down there are experiencing some much better fishing, but they're dealing with this wind, and that makes it inconsistent. I checked with my friend Louis Prieto, who was out yesterday. Louis's got a sport fishing operation and bar there in Ensenada, Baja California Norte, and Louis says, man, it was windy out here, kind of nasty weather. But they went to Todos Santos Islands where they picked up some barracuda and calico bass. They had pretty darn good fishing. So there's that local bite going on down there also. Around Punta Banda, some big bonita, and also some really good calico bass fishing. So the local bite there pretty good, and there is still a great opportunity for bluefin. And once this wind gets in our rear view mirror, it's going to really start to rock down there. But pongeros, you know how much I love those guys down there, how hard they work, and their fishing expertise is awesome. It's so much fun to go across the border and fish with those guys. So we'll keep watching them very, very closely. All right, we cross across the border. Let's go to the nighttime bite last night. It was nasty weather, but fishable, and really fishable, because I know several boats that had limits last night. Most guys got in on it, and it was great fishing. I talked to the Royal Star late last night, and they arrived late to the zone and still ended up with 40 nice big bluefin tuna, most of it 50 to 140 pounds. Great fish biting on the jigs, 300 grams to 420, like that. That winning current makes it necessary sometimes to fish a heavier jig. Type of jig, SK Daiwas are really good. Rip rollers are good knife jigs, whatever it is you've had success with in the past is going to work fine. But make sure you got a 2-speed reel with 130 pound on it. You're definitely going to want to have that. Okay, 100 pound will suffice, but heavy, heavy stuff. And in these kind of conditions, man, you're definitely going to need it. And really some great fishing last night. American angler Mike Krinkovich is out there, and he's a good Friedman Adventures family member. He had a nice big one, several nice fish. Danny Cadota is on the American Angler. They had a ripper bite last night, no question about it. We mentioned the Royal Star with their great fishing. Polaris Supreme last night all over the bluefin tuna, pushing 100 bluefin on the second day of a 3-day trip for the Polaris Supreme out of C4 Sportfishing. Great fishing for those boys. It has been absolutely magnificent. The Islander just got in with limits of bluefin tuna. Again, 50 to 140 pounds. If you're fishing the daytime fish, that grade is smaller. As you saw Captain Greg of the Aztec show you, actually, there's a lot of that 20 to 40 pound bluefin tuna running around. I say smaller grade, not to degrade it, because I remember still a time when if you caught a 20 pound bluefin tuna, you were doing somersaults. You were jumping for joy. And now, oh, it's a 20 pound bluefin. I don't want to get sucked into that mentality as I just did. So those are beautiful fish, and the way to get them is to drop that fluoro down at times. 25 pound seems to be the line, the fluoro that you want to fish with right now to get a bite. Choosing a good hot bait always makes all the difference in the world. Make sure you do that. You take your time, choose a good hot bait. You're new to the game, make friends with a deckhand as you walk on board or shortly thereafter, and ask them for their advice. Ask them how to choose a good hot bait. Ask them where you want to be fishing. All of those things you can cover with those guys. Make a friend, take care of those guys at the end of the trip, and that is always really good advice in terms of fishing that fish. Now, down there in the daytime yesterday, a full day boat. Boat leaves in the morning, comes back that same evening. San Diego, 8 yellowfin tuna. What is going on? Yellowfin tuna? The water's cold this year? What is going on? And obviously there's something larger at play here, and I think it's probably the El Nino having an early influence on us, and it portends one heck of a summer and fall and probably wintertime bite, as our water should stay warm in the wintertime and roll us right into the new year catching yellowfin and dorado and all of that stuff. It should be really fantastic. Those YFTs, mostly like 20 pound fish, it seemed like that grade of fish. Also had 5 bluefin tuna and a handful of bonito to go along with it. And this is really a good sign, because the full day boats here recently have been catching mostly the big bonito offshore, providing lots of action, great table fare. Bonito are really good to eat, but they're really looking for tuna. And they stumbled into an area yesterday that looked really much better for tuna. And they had the yellowfin, they had the 5 bluefin. We'll see if we can build on that today, as they're going to drive straight to that zone and work it hard here in just an hour or so. They should be on top of that. And that's going to be exciting stuff. We'll monitor that with our short updates, 30-second updates throughout the day to keep you in touch with the very latest. So good signal there. And all those full day guys, Liberty, the Mission Bell, they're going to be out this weekend. Now, some of those boys are switching over to the Coronado Islands, where you do need to bring a U.S. passport. If you're fishing the Coronado Islands, you need your U.S. passport. So keep that in mind. The Grande yesterday, you know, the one missing ingredient at the Coronado Islands here recently has been yellowtail. They've been catching good amounts of barracuda, limits at times, Mexican limits, 5 fish per rod. They've had good rock fishing out there. There's bonito. I mean, it's action-packed. It's gorgeous. It's fun. I love fishing the Coronado Islands. But yesterday, they caught 5 yellowtail. Maybe this is the start of the Forkies getting active at the Coronado Islands again. That looks very, very good. That place, the Coronado Islands, was awesome last year. And many guys drove right by it because, you know, you had tuna and dorado and all of that stuff so close. But Coronado Islands have been red hot for a while, and I think maybe we're just starting to enter into that period. It's going to be interesting to see if the boys can come up with some more yellows today and add to that great barracuda fishing and everything else. So remember, make sure you've got some surface iron, at times yo-yo iron, lighter jigs, heavier jigs, yo-yo, heavier, and make sure you've got everything from 25 to 40 pound along with you. And you never know. I mean, I'm serious. One of those guys at the islands might get a call that there's bluefin tuna nearby. So if you've got 2-speed reels, bring it along with you. It's always a really good idea because on the way out, guy might get a call that there's fish 28 miles from the point, and he might run on that. So you definitely want to go prepared. So remember, 25 to 40 pound fly line outfits. Captain Greg, absolutely right on the Aztec, dropping that line down at times will get you more bites. Then you want to have a 60 to 80 pound, and then you need the 2-speed reels with the 130 pound. I'm talking about, of course, if you're fishing bluefin on the full day trips, for the most part, you can get by with a 25 to 40, and then maybe a 50, 60, 80 pound. But if you've got heavier stuff, you definitely want to bring it along with you. Also, we continue to see some really excellent fishing at the San Clemente Island area. There we have seen nothing short of really excellent fishing on yellowtail and the Thunderbird yesterday with 38 yellowtail. Excellent hit for them as they continue to pound out some really good catches on the forkies out there. Sometimes it's a fly line bait with a really good hot sardine. Sometimes it's a yo-yo iron. Sometimes it is a surface iron. But in either case, you definitely want to go prepared. And if you're on a day-and-a-half trip or better, you definitely want to make sure you have some 2-speed reels because that night bite on those bluefin tuna was very near you at San Clemente Island. All right, as a tractor rolls by in the background to add dramatic effect to you all, we'll say good morning to that gentleman. Good morning. All right, there you go. Can you still hear me out there? I hope so. All right, let's get back to it, everybody. Clemente, some good yellow fishing. There's bonita, there's rockfish. There's all of that stuff to go along with it also. Navigante out of Redondo, 17 yellowtail. So a nice hit for them also. Sometimes those forkies want to bite on the lighter stuff, so 20, 25 pound fluoro. Other times they'll bite the 40 pound, and other times they're biting full speed on the surface iron and also the yo-yo iron. But a lot of surface iron fish, and you don't want to fish the iron with anything less than 40 pound. They'll bite it just fine, so might as well give yourself an advantage with some heavier line. Incidentally, a private boater's observation for you all, and that is, those guys are conking the fish. Guys that are in the know at Catalina Island, sea bass, halibut, yellows. It's been really good at Cat. You know, you're stealth, you're quiet, you get in there in a good zone, and man, some of those guys have been doing excellent. I saw some video yesterday, guy didn't want me to share, but whoa! I mean, sea bass and yellows and halibut and just a phenomenal day's fishing. There's some good stuff going on there. And I do want to drop back just for a moment. We mentioned that commercial catch of albacore. It's several hundred miles offshore, and a lot of you guys are thinking, okay, yellowfin tuna this early in the year with this cool of water, kiss those albies goodbye. And we don't think so. In fact, back in the day, I'm dating myself, but we'd go on a kelp and we'd catch mixed bluefin, yellowfin, albacore, yellowtail, all of it all mixed up together. The water's still cool. There's plenty of chovy around. That albacore is in exactly the position we would like to see it in. Back commercial catch the other day, it was 9 to 12 pound fish, smaller fish. Used to be an indication of a longer season. We still think albies are going to show up here in SoCal. And so we'll be watching that very, very closely. So you can all make fun of me again when I'm wrong for the third year in a row. All right, speaking back to Catalina Island, let's go back there. The Enterprise had 9 yellows. Native Son had a few yellows. It's windy over there, though. It's tough fishing. Pursuit and Patriot and Freelance, a lot of those boys are still all over the forkies there at Catalina Island. And again, dropping down to 15 pound will definitely get you a bite more often. There's some small fish there at Cat, and then there's some big fish. You hook one of those really big ones on 15, you can have your hands full. So you got to kind of monitor the bite. If it's the only way you're going to get a bite is fishing that lighter stuff, go to it. If you can get bit on 25 pound, go to that. So you're going to have to gauge that. And again, getting to know a crew member, walking on there and saying what's working. They were there the day before. They saw everything that went on. You definitely want to make friends with those boys. Up and down the coast, we continue to see some sculpin and rockfish, and we are still waiting for a barracuda bite here in the LA Orange County area. There's been quite a bit of gar up there in the Channel Islands, our local islands, Clemente, Catalina. There's been gar down there in, of course, Ensenada, some local fish there in San Diego and the Coronado Islands, but we're looking for the horseshoe kelp or one of these zones to go off maybe this weekend. Man, with this kind of weather, it's perfect. Somebody roll up on a big bird school of gar, bring your surface iron. Even if you're fishing Sculpin right now, it's the time of year where that definitely could happen. We'll continue to watch it. Up to the Channel Islands we go. They're dealing with this wind also. It's been very windy up there. Aloha Spirit yesterday had a couple of white sea bass. Saw a ton of fish. That's a very good thing. That is a great thing. This wind goes away and we're going to get a pop. Right now, it's a situation where you get a catch of white sea bass one day for one boat and then everybody else doesn't get them. And then a couple of boats get them and then nobody gets them. It's just inconsistent right now. But the Aloha Spirit with 2 white sea bass, and they saw a lot on the Mirage, a 2-day trip, that 11 halibut and also 12 barracuda yesterday. So some gar up there, some halibut. I don't mention the rockfish. If they focus on rockfish, you're going to catch them in the Channel Islands. Guaranteed. It's going to be really, really good. Up there, out of Santa Barbara, they're dealing with the wind also. Marcus Fain was on board the Stardust, and man, they got their butts kicked up there. In fact, they couldn't fish outside. It was just too rough. So they stayed on the coast where fishing was really slow until the last 2 drifts when they limited out on rockfish. So the Stardust braving the elements and coming up with a good catch. Nothing wrong with that. Along our coast, we're seeing more corvina as the water warms up. We'll see even more of that. A lot of sand crabs down there around Huntington. We're also seeing the cooler water stuff though. Nola Yan had some really excellent fishing on barred perch here just the other day down there. So a mix of kind of the warm and the cold. I mean, you know, same thing with his yellowfin tuna and everything else. Just an enigmatic year, that is for sure. It's going to be a crazy year. It's already been crazy. And then also some pretty good halibut fishing if you're fishing Lucky Crafts or like that. That's a good way to make things happen for you. So really some conking going on last night. It was really good fishing. Hopefully that's going to continue. We'll continue to monitor that. And remember our 30-second snippets throughout the day. Remember to like, share, subscribe, tick the bell. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Remember, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please take a listen to us there. And also, we want to thank all our sponsors, Daiwa, El Patron Sport Fishing, 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing, the Pegasus down there in San Diego. Who am I leaving out? The Horizon out of H&M Landing. We'll keep you in touch with all the very latest. And of course, I want to thank you for our towering stats, moving up on 3 million views now, hundreds of thousands of hours consumed by you. I owe that all to you, and I will never forget that. Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely day and a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you really, really soon.